Deborah Butler asking how did quarantine get its name?
Deborah, it's something that we mention often, quarantine. We're actually sitting right on quarantine at the moment. It's the area that's literally around us here. As far as I know, in the history of Djuma itself, quite some years ago, I'm not exactly sure the time span, about 40 years ago, when this became more of a natural game reserve as opposed to, well, there's a lot of other history to it as well. But when they brought game back into this area, keep in mind that back then this area would have been fenced off from Kruger, so it was still a natural reserve. You still had big animals here, but it wasn't one big open system like it is now. Today, Djuma forms part of the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, which is about 60,000 hectares, which forms part of Kruger and the Greater National Park going into Mozambique. So it's a massive open ecosystem. But back in the day, this would have been a game farm fenced off, and they would have brought animals in. So they would have brought maybe, let's say, rhinos in, and then when they bring animals in, they would put them in a certain area to start off with. So this area called quarantine, literally for what it was, would be that sort of holding camp, if you want. So you bring in, let's say, 20 blue wildebeest, you release them into this holding area, which is still quite large. Quarantine is probably, James, 3 hectares, 4 hectares maybe, say something like about 200 by 200 meters. So it's quite a large area, big enough that animals could run around and do their thing. And then once they've settled down a little bit and sort of orientated themselves, and you've made sure that none of them are injured or sick, then you would open that up and they would be released into the Great Reserve. So the name is stuck. It's a little bit of history to it. But yeah, we just refer to it as quarantine. It's a beautiful area, as you've seen whenever we drive around Deborah, and I'm sure everyone else that goes and drive with us. It's a stunning area. Big marula trees, big silver cluster leaves, and so on. It's a stunning area. But yeah, that's some of the questions. Really, anything else?
Another question from Randy, asking who was Birchall. She's noticing a Birchall starling, Birchall zebra, and Birchall kukels. She wants to know why his name on those different animals and birds.
Randy, very good question, as always. It's something that I haven't looked into the history in detail myself, but I think it was in, I stand to be corrected, but in the Smithers Book of Mammals, or one of those books along the line, they gave a very quick explanation. Birchall was, to my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected on this, was a French explorer and a French scientist. He was one of the very early sort of, call it scientific explorers, people that studied and looked into African wildlife. And like a lot of early species that were named by people, he had the benefit of choosing the name. It's still like that today. Just a couple of months ago, they found the new cobra species in East Africa, and whoever found that species, they would have the privilege, I guess, of naming it. So normally with scientific names, you try and give it something of relevance. So there might be something that has to do with the bone structure or the tooth structure, or maybe a specific coloration that the animal has, and you use that part of the description in the Latin. But also very often people would use their own names or maybe the area names. So it might be that the first part of the name refers to, and unfortunately I'm not the biggest scientific name fan, I just can't remember them always, but you would have the first part of the name maybe referring to something that's characteristic to the species, and then the other part of the name might refer to the area that it was first seen in. So Birchall was a French scientist, and he had a bit of a flair, I guess, and he named quite a few things after him, after himself, in the scientific names especially. If you go into Latin names, you will find a lot of scientific names with Birchall being part of the name, and of course that's stuck, like Randy is saying, with quite a few of the English names. Birchall zebra, Birchall's kukel, Birchall starling, and that's the ones I can think of at the moment. There's quite a few others, and if you really, I've seen along the line, if you keep your eyes open as you look at scientific names, quite a few bird names and things also contain that name in it. The exact history of it, maybe someone is interested in history enough to go search it up and find it on the web. Could be quite easily found, I'm sure. As far as I know, it was in the late 1800s, 1870, 1880, somewhere around there, but stand to be corrected. Thank you, Randy. Haley, anything else, or are we going to say goodbye? Right, so just it's a very interesting point that's come through. Quite a few emails have come through saying that some of the guys, or some of you, ladies and guys, I guess, on the vehicle with us, actually saw the leopard while we were looking at that spider. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's highly, highly unlikely. I think what you guys were seeing, and I know exactly what you were looking at, it was straight through the back of where the spider was, right in that deep dip. That's why at one stage I stood up actually with the binoculars to have a look in there. It was a little bit of a log or maybe some sand color, combination of that underneath the grass with some shadow light playing on it. And that's what caught my attention as well. With binoculars, it was just something that looked like it. Also, Aubrey and them had a very good look, unless that leopard was somewhere very tucked away. It wasn't there. I promise you that. We looked as hard as we can. I really wanted to see that catch as well. So, not impossible. I'm not going to say you guys didn't see it, but from having been there and really having had a very, very close look around, James as well was trying very hard, and he did spot that kill up in the tree from 100 yards away. That leopard wasn't there. Maybe later tonight, and if you're really lucky, there's enough meat there that maybe even in the morning, when we go out again, we can see that. I think that's all for now. I just want to make sure with Hayley.
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you very much again. It's been actually nice just sitting down here and taking it nice and easy, and just talking to you a little bit and having you ask a few questions. I really am hoping that this sound niggle will be sorted out by tomorrow. James is gonna climb into the back of those machines with everything from pliers and tools to grinders if need be, and sort it out. So hopefully in the morning all will be sounding perfect, and looking forward to seeing you out here again with WildEarth at Juma, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what next week brings for us in terms of wildlife. From myself, Peter, from James on camera, and Hayley back in the live control center. I almost had that whole sentence worked out. From all of us here from WildEarth, thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome afternoon. Enjoy your day if you're in America and you've still got the whole Sunday ahead of you. It's a nice day, enjoy it, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Keep an eye on that waterhole as well. Lots of wildlife around. Bye-bye.